In this episode, I'm going to teach you what white blood cells are, what they do, why they may be low or high, and give you ideas to fix them. And the best part? I'll do that using a really fun police force analogy. Stay tuned because this is not your average Google search. If you make it to the end of this episode, you will understand your white blood cells so you can optimize your health. Welcome to Labstories, where we help you understand your labs and optimize your health. In each episode, we bring a lab to life using stories, clarify the most common abnormalities, teach you what matters, what doesn't, and show you how to move from the red to the black. I'm your host, Dr. Tom Scheck-Snyder. Let's go. Made by the bone marrow building company, leukocytes, with leuc meaning white and cyte meaning cell, are a strong, diverse security force that protects your body. The different branches of the force are neutrophils, lymphocytes, monocytes, eosinophils, and basophils. They can be memorized with the mnemonic, never let monkeys eat bananas. The total normal leukocyte count is between 4,000 to 11,000 cells per microliter of blood. Neutrophils are the city cops. There are tons of these guys, making up between 40 to 70% of the whole force. They patrol the blood streets, and when a crime occurs, they're the first on the scene. Like the boys in blue, neutrophils have multiple options when it comes to fighting crime. They can kill the bad guys themselves by shooting them with pepper spray granules and enzymes, or release the canine phagocytic units to eat the bad bacteria and fungi. They also recruit other cops to the scene with the cytokine radio. The city cops have a hard job, and it takes a toll. They only live for hours to days in the body. They get called for everything, including break-in infections, domestic disturbance autoimmune diseases, cigarette smoking endothelial fire damage, mental health crises, medication overdoses, etc. That is why mild neutrophil increases on the CBC are so common. And when these city cops go on strike, the city has no defense and will be ransacked by invaders. Okay, a quick recap. Neutrophils are the first-line city cops. They're the most numerous, shortest lived, and can kill with granules or eat pathogens. They secrete cytokines, which are messenger chemicals and are called to every problem. The most common white blood cell abnormalities will be driven by increases or decreases in neutrophils. Lymphocytes are the FBI. They're listed as a single cell type on the CBC, but there are multiple different kinds of lymphocytes. Lymphocytes make up about 30% of the total security force. CD4 T-cell intelligence agents, CD8 T-cell assassins, B-cell antibody operatives, and natural killer double agent removal cells work together closely, along with local police jurisdictions, to eliminate all threats to national security. Like any good big brother, they keep memory cell files on suspected enemies, and they devote many resources to internal policing, because occasionally lymphocytes become double agents and cause autoimmune damage to the body they've pledged to serve. Being a lymphocyte is a career job that's adaptive, specialized, and advanced. These guys live longer than the city cops, a few weeks for most and a few years for memory cells. Okay, here's the recap. Lymphocytes are listed as one cell type, but there are at least 4 subtypes with overlapping but distinct roles. They live longer than neutrophils and are specialized. Being a lymphocyte is a career job, and there's definitely a risk of becoming an autoimmune double agent. Monocytes are the transformers and crime scene cleanup crew. They comprise 5% of the security force. They patrol the streets like neutrophils, but some of them also transform and are embedded as macrophages in organs throughout the body, like the liver, lungs, central nervous system, bones, and skin, where they wait for crimes to take place. Once that happens, macrophages are like neutrophil city cops on steroids. They can eat criminal pathogens, destroy them with chemicals, and recruit other cells to the crime scene. They also present evidence to the CD4 T-cell intelligence agents to involve the lymphocyte FBI when necessary. When not fighting crime, monocytes participate in routine city cleanup projects like recycling iron from old red blood cells, muscle repair, wound healing, and even play a big role in promoting atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. Ever heard of foam cells? Those are macrophages that have eaten cholesterol and end up in your artery wall. Here's the monocytes recap. They embed in local organs, fight crime in a variety of ways, but also coordinate with the FBI for intelligence and participate in civil service projects. All right, if you're enjoying this podcast, I would really appreciate it if you could like, subscribe, share, or just engage on the platform that you're listening on. Now to the fun ones. Eosinophils are the Space Force. They're a small bunch, comprising only about 2% of the white blood cells, but they always have their eyes skyward, looking for extraterrestrial parasites, and they have powerful granular weapons that can defeat the aliens. But more often than not, the UFO sightings are false alarms. and firing their weapons causes allergic reactions, asthma, eczema, etc. Basophils are good buddies with the eosinophils, and they're extra special. I envision these as mall cops that weren't quite cut out even for the Space Force, so they spend their day spraying histamine pepper spray at parasitic teenagers in the mall. Since they're less extraterrestrially focused, they do occasionally contribute to city safety when true incidents arise, namely by calling neutrophils to help out. They can be elevated in some cancers, which is probably caused by overexposure to American Eagle cologne and Great American cookies. Alright guys, I hope you've enjoyed this silly, oversimplified depiction of white blood cells. Truthfully, the immune system is amazingly complex. There are so many different pathogens and scenarios that the body has to defend against. The intracellular communication, differentiation, and ability to adapt to keep us healthy is nothing short of remarkable. So please forgive me if it was too much, but my hope is that by personifying these cells, you'll better understand the gist of them and be able to properly answer the question that may have brought you to this podcast in the first place. Is my white blood cell abnormality meaningful? Well, first a few common scenarios. Tobacco smoking increases white blood cell counts by up to 25% compared to non-smokers, and that elevation affects all white blood cell lines. Obesity causes elevated white blood cells, specifically of neutrophils and lymphocytes. These conditions may not cause elevations that cross over the upper limit of normal threshold, but they're important because they're states of chronic inflammation, and chronic inflammation is the driver of all metabolic diseases. If obesity is your cause, download my free weight loss checklist today. Pregnancy is also a cause of elevated white blood cells. So here are 4 clarifying questions to help figure out your white blood cell abnormality. Number 1, are you sick? Number 2, are the white blood cells high or low? Number 3, what specific subtype or subtypes are abnormal? And number 4, how abnormal are they? If you're sick, you should expect your white blood cells to be abnormal. And here are some classic white blood cell associations. Neutrophils are often elevated in bacterial infections. Lymphocytes are increased in viral infections. Elevated monocytes are seen in Epstein-Barr virus infection, otherwise known as mono. Elevated eosinophils are seen in allergies, eczema, and parasitic infections. Elevated basophils are seen in allergic conditions and cancers. So when should you worry about white blood cells? Here are 4 circumstances. Number 1, severe elevations, with the exact number being debatable, but I'd say over 25,000. Number 2, severe decreases, specifically neutrophil levels less than 1,000, except in one specific condition I'll describe shortly. This means the neutrophil city cops are not there to protect you from infections. It is a big risk. Number 3, elevated levels of immature white blood cells. These are seen in acute leukemias. Number 4, high mature lymphocytes. These are seen in chronic leukemias. So circling back to neutropenia, benign ethnic neutropenia is exactly what it sounds like. It's a non-dangerous genetic variant in people of African ancestry where neutrophil counts can be less than 1,000 to 1,500 cells per microliter, but those people are not at increased risk for infections. It's a stable chronic genetic variant felt to have protective benefits against malaria. Regardless, if your neutrophil count is less than 500 in any circumstance, that is an emergency. So what should you do next? Put your white blood cell counts in context. Figure out which lines are abnormal and by how much. Are you sick? Do you smoke? Are you obese, pregnant, chronically inflamed, stressed? Do you have symptoms of leukemia, like night sweats, weight loss, and easy bruising? Are your red blood cells and platelets also low? Do you have immature white blood cells in your blood? See your doctor, optimize your health, and get your white blood cells rechecked after that. In summary, the white blood cell police force is awesome. The city cop neutrophils, lymphocyte FBI, monocyte transformers, eosinophil space force, and basophil mall cops keep you safe from invaders and work really well. Neutrophils respond to all manner of incidents and will be especially disturbed by bacterial infections. Lymphocytes are more specialized, combat viruses. Eosinophils and basophils are obsessed with parasites, UFOs, and pepper spray. Use context to further personalize your situation, and if abnormal, make sure you get them rechecked. Here's to understanding your labs and optimizing your health.